The unthinkable was about to happen. Team USA needed the best version of 39-year-old LeBron James to overcome South Sudan in clutch time. And the truth is, they haven't really been that dominant in the rest of their warm-up games. With teams that are able to match their physicality, the US is having a lot of trouble, and that is the reality we live in right now.
Steph. LeBron drives for the lead. He puts it in.
Long gone are the days when Team USA was sweeping everything and everyone, where FIBA tournaments were practically meaningless because of a powerhouse that was destroying all national teams worldwide every 4 years. It's not that Team USA is worse than before. Far from it. When we analyze the names on the roster, they are all elite players who would be almost the leaders of any other country in the world. But the problem is, the huge gap that existed between the talent of the Americans and the rest of the world is getting smaller and smaller every year. And it's clear that Team USA is going to sweat for its 5th consecutive Olympic gold. However, which countries will have the best chance to topple this basketball giant? Let's talk about it. It's clear that the globalization of basketball is taking us into a new era in which international basketball is extremely competitive. Not only does every team have players who have NBA experience unlike a few decades ago, but the talent in the domestic leagues is getting better and better. This has produced an improvement at all levels, from players' technical ability to tactics to athleticism. And there's no better proof of this than our first national team that has enough arsenal to take down Team USA. I mean, Canada already proved they could do it, right? In the last World Cup, a little less than a year ago, they already managed to defeat Team USA in what was the most important game in the history of the national team. And there is no doubt that the group they are taking to Paris is the best they've ever had. The case of Canada is particularly curious. The players who are born there and excel in the Canadian system usually go to develop in the United States in most cases, so their way of understanding basketball is very similar.
The dribble settling just a little early.
SGA.
Tough, smooth.
Therefore, they are players who prioritize their athletic and technical development during their first years of training, unlike European players. And for that reason, Canada has the physicality to hold its own against Team USA. It is true that the Team USA they face in the World Cup has nothing to do with the roster that Steve Kerr has taken to the Olympic Games, but in terms of cohesion, Canada is clearly better. Not only do they have the experience of having already competed with a very similar roster, they even added Jamal Murray. It also looks like a completely balanced core. They have their superstar, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, an MVP caliber player who can lead the offense all game long. But they also have an elite second offensive option like Jamal, a third like RJ Barrett, and role players at all positions. Dylan Brooks, despite popular belief, is a talented NBA starter. Kelly Olynyk is a proven veteran with a lot of experience, and young players like Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Andrew Nembhard have proven their importance to their franchise during the past playoffs. If there's one word that defines this Canadian team, it is balance. However, with such a strong roster also comes a lot of pressure. All fans know that Canada is one of the favorites to come home with a medal, and if they fail to do so, their performance at the Olympics could be considered disappointing. So that underdog tag they started with after an irrelevant history in FIBA? Yeah, it won't be there anymore. Another national team that can cause Team USA and virtually any Olympic team a lot of problems is Serbia.
Jokic on Holiday, spinning off of him. He missed it. Second chance is there.
A team that not only has a great tradition in European basketball, being one of the most intimidating powerhouses on the old continent, but also has the best player of all of the Olympics. Yes, it's not crazy to say that Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world today. But besides the fact that their star is used to FIBA basketball where he was developed before going to the NBA, Serbia has many strengths. The first one is the enormous talent they have on their roster. Not only do they have young players who have been on the radar of the best basketball league in the world, but they also have veterans. Filip Petrusev, Nikola Jokic, Vasilije Micic, Nikola Milutinov, and of course, Atlanta Hawks guard Bogdan Bogdanovic, a guard capable of scoring and running the offense. It's no mystery that in FIBA basketball, you need a guard capable of carrying a lot of offensive weight, and Bogdan not only meets that requirement, but he will also have the opportunity to form one of the deadliest two-man games in the entire competition with Joker.
They don't get back here. That's what they're...
Oh my goodness.
In addition, the presence of elite European players like Ognjen Dobrik, Marko Guduric, Vanja Marinkovic, or Alexia Avramovic only adds depth to a roster that, as of today, is a third favorite to win a medal according to Vegas. Unlike Canada, Serbia has a chemistry that only teams with a good track record have. I mean, in the last World Cup, they took silver medal without having their best player, Nikola Jokic, available, who is taking a well-deserved rest after winning the 2023 ring. But this is a very common factor in many European national teams, which have always shown great cohesion and great adaptability to FIBA basketball with rules they are used to using in their domestic competitions. That, together with the enormous physicality that they usually bring to the court, makes a combination that can be lethal. And it's not just me talking. Serbia has always been one of the best basketball teams, not only in Europe, but all over the world. This is easy to see with an enviable record that includes 5 gold medals, 5 silver medals, and 1 bronze medal in different Eurobaskets, World Cups, and Olympics. But the truth is that they have not been on top of the podium since the 2002 World Cup, and their bloodlust may be enough to defeat the stacked Team USA. This situation is similar to Germany, the great underdog of the tournament, and another team that on a good day can stand up to Team USA. Little needs to be said about the Germans at this point. They are the reigning world champions and the third place finishers in the last 2022 Eurobasket. It seemed that there was no life after Dirk Nowitzki, but the current generation has even surpassed the performance of the national team that had the best European player in history. Their secret is very simple: Dennis Schroeder. Yeah, I said it. We already mentioned it with Bogdanovic. This kind of guard who is able to run the offense is extremely valuable in FIBA basketball.
Schroeder again, and this time playing downhill.
But Dennis is the epitome of how good a FIBA guard can be. His mastery of the pick and roll, his handling of pace, his decision making, his ability to attack the rim, and his iron mentality have made him one of the best guards in the world when it's summertime. Schroeder is the type of player who can have the ball in his hands for 20 seconds every possession and turn your team into an elite offense. You can see the proof in his exaggerated averages in FIBA competitions compared to his NBA career, where there is more space and more playing time. But it's not just Dennis. Germany has a roster that includes numerous NBA talents, such as Daniel Theis, Maxi Kleber, or Isaac Bonga. Players with previous experience in the best league in the world who have shown their commitment to their country. But none are as important as the Wagner brothers. Franz just signed a $224 million extension that puts him as the Magic's second most important piece behind Paolo Banchero, and he'll be a perfect shield for Schroeder to have an elite finisher by his side. Germany also has that something, that cohesion that elevates teams in critical moments. And of course, it has much better chemistry than Team USA, which has simply stacked stars in a roster that has not yet had enough experience as a team. And that is precisely the counter of Team USA's game. Cohesion is one of the most underrated aspects of FIBA basketball. A type of basketball where the spaces are smaller and where the ISO ball is not as effective as in the NBA. For that reason, there are even more teams that could stand up to Team USA in a few days. Teams like France, despite having a huge talent in their roster with quality young and veteran players, still seem to need to find that cohesion that will elevate them to the next tier of their contenders. Even more after a poor performance in the pre-Olympic Games. But if there is one thing we know, it is that at some point a generational talent like Victor Wembanyama will be able to lead a team in which his support will be some players chosen in the first positions of the draft, like Zachary Richelet or Alexander Sarr. Or maybe Australia, which, unlike France, seems to have a great chemistry in its roster. A roster also full of players with NBA experience as their leader: Patty Mills, Joe Ingles, Josh Giddey, Josh Green, and Matthew Dellavedova. In fact, if we talk about Australia, we are probably talking about one of the 3 best defenses of all Olympic rosters. Now, will this be enough? Or are we destined to see a Team USA that needs to prove its authority to the rest of the world? Only time will tell. But for now, I'm going to grab the popcorn because these Olympic Games promise to be the most intense in basketball history. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.